on a lawnmower, so we should have more than enough lawnmowers to last us for a while.
That was not to speak out of school or on anybody else's behalf, but Joe had made that comment today that we just bought one last year,
and my feeling is, guys, we do an awful lot of calling other people to do the lawn mowing for us. So either we need these $17,000 lawnmowers, or we need people to mow for us, one way or the other.
I think most of the mowing is a city property rather than the one
that's fine. We've got 2 Cadillacs that can mow grass, and yet we still have to call these outside service companies to come help us out.
Right.
Do we got the manpower to cut the grass with, or we just need another lawnmower is what you're saying?
What Rick asked for is a new lawnmower. And it was in the budget, so I didn't really ask him a whole lot of details. And it's just been crazy the last couple of weeks on it.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah.
So
I think that's kind of been what the past when Deb was there. I mean, that was kind of what her line was. We just don't have the people to do it, and that would kind of led to the outside, third party vendors doing it. But I don't know if Rick's had that same experience at this point or not.
Well, as long as we're getting it done on our own dime. I mean, for the folks we have under roof, I go ahead and give them the equipment they need if it's budgeted for, and then we get down to this again. Maybe that's a story, but
Randy, did you have a question?
That was John.
That was John. He wants to know what's wrong with the old mower. And quite frankly, I don't really know, other than we have $15,000 in a budget for a new mower. Rick's looking to buy a new mower, and he used a little bit of excess money left over the tobacco purchase.
Hey, Benny.
Yes, sir.
That's no problem if the new mower isn't working.
Benny?
Yes.
So what you're saying is they want a third mower. They've got the manpower to use it if they get a third mower, and then we can cut out hiring people to cut the grass, right? Is that what you're getting at?
I'm not saying that. I haven't had that discussion with Rick to find out whether it's a manpower issue or if it's a equipment issue. But it is. I mean, we did a lot of work just to get that big mower last year. Guinevere and Deb worked really hard to get another lawnmower on for this year, and that's where we're at. So, I mean, I'm just hoping that with this, we'll have everything we need so that we can cut out calling these other guys.
I mean, if they need it,
where
and
are
it's
they
already
calling
been in
other
there,
people
you've already
for?
discussed it, right? We say,
Benny, where did they call other people for?
Hey, Fred.
Traditionally, we've been having to have them come to mow the hill on 50 next to the old football fields. There's just other places that we do.
I thought that stopped when they got that new mower.
that's what I thought, because it's got them big 4 wheels on it.
As long as it does.
People here at the utilities to take care of our mowing, except for the big place like the well field, because we don't have a tractor. But they weren't doing our pump stations and our places like that, so we were doing that anyway. And I've got one of my boys is in now from college because he's doing his classes at night, but I think I'm going to have him do meter reading because I've got two of my meter readers they're one at Bennett is 76 and the other one is Rick Grubbs is 64. And Lisa has health issues right now that she shouldn't be out doing it. So the new meters are not working. So the, we're going to be reading gas this month because it's critical. We can still estimate our water, but like I say, it's, that's what I just wondered if they, where all they were, farming out for mower service besides the hillside, which I thought stopped. So
long as we're not paying other people to mow grass, I'm fine.
Yeah, but they do got that other lawnmower to cut that hillside, like Randy said. I thought that's why they bought that. It's got them 4 tires in the back of it to keep it on that hill.
and he wants to get another one like that or just a regular mower?
No, he's going to get another one that's designed for banks.
Okay. Well, I know the age of their equipment, so he's probably due one. Because we run into the same problem down at the cemetery when they keep them running. And then the other thing is they don't haul them from place to place. They run them around town to, get from location to location because they're doing so many, places that are spread out. So it's probably pretty justified that they would get one.
Yeah, I don't feel like Rick would be asking for it if it wasn't necessary. He's been pretty good about keeping tight reins on the spending when he can.
Okay. Well, I don't care if it's already budgeted and they want it. I don't care if they have it, especially if they can cut out other people. So I'm good with it. I don't know, Terry, John, is Fred on there?
Fred was good with it. He just called in, said he couldn't be on the conference.
Well, I'll go ahead and put forth a motion to approve the appropriation.
All right.
John, what's John? John good with it?
Can you hear this discussion, John?
Yeah, I can. As far as I'm concerned, if Randy says we need it, just go ahead and get the thing.
Okay, I'm good. I'm good with it as well. So I'll second it.
Sounds like we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, it carries.
Can you guys see what I have on my screen now?
Yeah.
Yep.
A little bit, yes.
I have Randy want to talk about the ESG AI number 4.
Okay.
What was it?
I was gonna let you go ahead and talk about what you wanted to do with the pay item and kind of what we agreed through talking to ESG.
Is that the water meters?
Yes.
Well, I'm not going to pay them anything until they've taken care of all these problems. Seems like more problems are persistent. That guy, is it Rick or what's the guy's name that's running the crew?
Rusty.
Rusty. Yeah, until he goes around, checks every water meter and makes sure no more fly up in the air and go up under people's lawnmower decks or kids falling into them, I'm not going to pay him a dime.
Well, they did do that. They went around because they were in front of my house Sunday morning. So they do have all that documented and on place. Him and his second in command, they hit every location. My concern is one issue that came up is the gas that until they prove that they have people that's trained according to Indiana rules, they can't do the work. And I don't know if they would relinquish it because it's like my guy said, if they have to stand there and watch them, what do we need them for? And they've got out of the gas meters, there's 1,900, and right now they've got 480 of the modules in, which they don't have to be trained to do that. But to change a meter, they have to turn the gas off, and they have to have the training to do that. They also have to be part of an approved drug plan. So the water, most of those, they've got them in. They've got 2,200, but there's only 800 that are loaded into the computer that when you drive around town and read them, and only 300 of those work. So what we're stuck with doing now is that we will be reading the gas meters because this is, like I say, a critical time for us. And the other, on the water, we will estimate it again. We just completed the billing, and that will go out tomorrow for March. And those bills are due on April 20th. So on the utility board meeting, I will get you a report that day before the meeting as to how many people are actually paying. It's like right now, I can report to you, we have one big industrial who was due on March 20th, and they did not pay. So I don't know whether they take it that when the governor announced the moratorium on shutoffs, it was my understanding that it was only to apply to residential users and not to businesses and industries unless they were a key industry. Now, they may be falling back on that and saying that the caskets are, going to be a vital piece of the to deal with this emergency. I was going to contact Larry, my contact, tomorrow and see what he can find out for me. So like I say, with the regular customers, what I want to tell them is that pay what you can. If you make a partial payment, we will work with you when this is over to catch up. But if they make no payment at all, eventually, when this thing, does come to an end, council will have to decide at that time how to deal with, those kind of issues as far as catching up. But anyway,
Let's
back
go ahead and
to
keep that. I thought we'd already discussed that at utility board, that we were going to continue to red tag things more as a reminder. We weren't going to pull the rug out from any residential accounts.
Let me clear things up.
If somebody wants to touch base out there to the casting company and ask if they had a different understanding, why don't we leave that for utility board and move on with what we need to do as far as wrapping up the special session of this evening.
Josh called.
we did.
And
We did. I think Benny needs an approval on paying that number 4 invoice, which we kind of left it that, with the shutdown and them having to pull out of town, that we would approve that one, but there would be nothing else after that. If we approve that one, there's still $845,341 worth of work to do. And like say, half of that is gas, half of it's water. And I, like say, these issues are going to have to be dealt with before we go any farther. But it's like I told Alan, we're kind of up the creek, because if we fire them or dismiss them from the job, then what does that do to our guarantee?
Well,
of course, I've had my doubts from the beginning on whether they'll ever stand up and pay anything as far as a guarantee.
well,
that's a separate issue.
As far as, at this point, we're married to him. I'm not looking for the divorce right away.
I'll divorce him.
I know.
Hey, believe me, getting rid of them is always much better.
Well, like I say, that guarantee is what started this whole thing, because like I say, we paid them $685,000 for pre-engineering, and I can tell you that nothing was done until these 2 guys that are on the job now showed up. And there's still issues on the gas side especially, and like I say, engineering is being done as it goes. And like I say, Joe Tierney had told us that they could have done the specs for $200,000 back when we were talking about this, and that's ESG hid their numbers, and they didn't supply them until they came up with the first invoice. So like I say, it's there are issues, but like I say, the material that would have came in and the modules that are installed, like I say, they're going to have to be straightened out. The module is in, but we still need to figure out why they're not reading. And like I say, I'm not in favor of going any further other than this one. Like say, they did leave town, you know, and they're shut down. You know, that leaves me in the same thing as 3rd Street. What are we going to do with Paul Rowe? And I know I talked to Pat McGraw today, and he said right now he's trying to keep his guys just, you know, busy around the shop and small jobs. But he said, you know, he didn't know how long he could do that before he would have to, you know, have some bigger work. And so I didn't know what council and or mayor, what you want to do on that. If you want
How
them to
much
go
is-
ahead on 3rd Street, and if you do, then do we want, you know, ESG back in town working on the meters?
I'm ready to fire off on 3rd Street. But my big
I didn't
concern
catch that.
was putting your people at risk to have to go in and pick up the pieces every time they bust a line or something. So, you know, the
Okay.
big concern for me is, again, with your folks.
Well, like I say, from what I hear, they're saying the worst of this is going to be the first 3 weeks of April. And so I think by the time we have council and utility board, we'll definitely have more of a grasp on this situation. So, like I say, my recommendation would be that you go ahead and approve that payment number 4 since they did pull up and move out. You know, but like I say, we can hold until these other issues are worked out, and this will give us time to do that by doing it over the email and back and forth with data that way. Benny, did you hear that?
I did. I heard you.
Okay, is that what you wanted?
Did we get an approval?
Okay.
Did we approve paying the invoice or not?
Not yet. No one's made a motion for that yet.
Okay, that's fine.
What is the amount of the invoice for item number 4?
$141,819.
And Pat, you want to hold that up until we talk again?
Yeah, I want things straightened out before we pay them any money, because we can pay them and they'll say, forget it, you guys got the rest and we're out of here. I mean, these guys are shady. Everything they've done has been
The ones
shady.
that actually got in, why they're not reading.
I'm not going to go to
Well,
bed to pay them anything right now until everything's taken care of. I'm not going to give them a dime. And I would like to see them just get rid of the gas and give us the gas to put in,
He wants us
because they're not qualified and can't do it anyway.
It's like
I agree with that.
$194,000,
They're not gonna.
which was.
So I would like to get all that stuff
We've had some
redone
concerns with kind of their
before we do
workmanship,
anything.
and,
Alan, are you there?
and we kind of
Yeah,
put
I'm
them on hold.
You know, what's
So
your
to
take on
Randy's
this?
suggestion-
What kind of contract did we sign with ESG, and are they in breach of their contract?
Right, Pat.
If they're not
honestly,
supplying the product that they're supposed to be supplying,
Just suggesting we pay them
then
this
it sounds
little bit,
like we have legal right to
since we're
dismiss
kind of-
them. But if we
Well, they
do,
come off the job temporarily.
what's the chances of, you know, us getting any money back out of them or getting the finished product?
There's
What do we do? Go
lots of
shopping for
discussion.
another company?
Mayor and
I
Pat
mean,
and Terry.
if Randy thinks our guys can put in the gas meters, which I know that they
Pay
can,
this one or what's up the
then,
next one.
you know, is that the route to go?
and that may just have to be the discussion that we have with them. I mean, if we cut ties with them right now, there is a 100% chance this is going to end up in litigation.
Yes,
and I
I'm
don't know if
sure
that's
of that.
basically, you know,
I think-
where we want to end up with in the middle of a project. But at the same time, I mean, it's pretty clear that, and shame on us for not asking the right questions, I suppose, but it is clear that they were not forthright with their qualifications to actually perform this job. And I think that's abundantly clear at this point, just from things that Randy's been told as well.
Yeah, I think we're there. I mean, I don't know that we can avoid anything at this point.
Right. So my suggestion is, you know, clarify what qualifications they have, because I mean there are just baseline things that we've been led to believe now that they may not even have. If that's the case, and I think that puts us in a much better position to cut ties. But I think we've got to have that conversation with ESG first.
Okay.
And if that's something I need to reach out, I've got no problem doing that. I know Randy was working with another engineer, kind of asking some questions as well. I mean, if someone can help me with the technical stuff, as far as the actual project itself is concerned, I'm happy to reach out to whoever we need to try to get it sorted out.
Well, I thought that's kind of the trail we were heading down after that conference call. Was we were asking for clarification that they were supposed to respond to, and if that hasn't been satisfied yet, let's keep going on trying to get those answers. But I think, I'm going to side with Pat on this, that the wallet is closed until we get those answers, because at this point, that's the only leverage we have to really move them forward to get them.
Right.
Okay. On the other projects, do you want to hold also, Mayor, the Pleasant View with McGraw and also Larry on the water tank? Because, like I say, I'm not crazy about having Larry take the tank down, and I know George was supposed to get me how many days we could hold our bids.
I really need a battery in this.
So, like I say, if it cleared up, and we end up doing it in June and July, because the hot weather really won't hit until August and September, to try to get it done before the fair. Or for that matter, worst case, if we have to hold until next year and rebid it and do it, spring of next year. So that's my feeling that, where I'm at on that. So right
Can
now,
I ask? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, are there any, if Pat and them guys do a couple of these jobs now, will they be secluded just to their own guys? I mean, they're not going to be around anybody else, are they?
I wouldn't think that the residents would be out, bird dogging them and watching them in their front yards or anything. So, but like say, if you're going to hold 3rd Street and you let, Pat go on Pleasant View, then is that setting a precedent that Paul Rowe would say, well, you're digging up there, why can't we dig down here?
Right.
So
I'm ready to go with 3rd Street. I mean, construction people are exempt from what I've read. And, you're sitting on a piece of equipment and you don't have contact with everybody else, maybe a few of the guys you work with, but that's about it. Terry, Pat, weigh in on this. You want to hold off on 3rd or get going?
I'm kind of feeling with you, Mark. I mean, they're only by themselves. There's not a crowd of, there's only 3 or 4 of them, and they're saying keeping it crowds under 10. Construction is exempt. I'd say go ahead and let them do it. But that's my feeling on it.
What do you think, Terry?
Has there been any direction given from AIM on knowing that all these communities are out here with community crossing dollars? Are they giving any opinion as to, given what we deal with all around us right now, has anybody heard or anything?
Yeah, well, I saw a post on WSCH's news feed that Lawrenceburg is proceeding with their community crossings. They've got O'Mara doing theirs. It was announced that US 50 at Dillsboro is going to be worked on immediately, so they haven't stopped either of those projects.
Then I would say we ought to be good to go ahead. And of course, we're trusting our contractors too to keep their people safe. So if they're ready to go and they're clamoring for the work, then let's get after it.
Derek, what do you think?
I'm a little hesitant. They're saying that the worst of this is going to come in the coming weeks, and I'm kind of with Randy. We don't know really what that's going to look like. Granted, it's going to be low exposure, to everyone, but it's your guys' call.
I say let them dig. If they're willing to go out there and do it, I'd leave it up to them. If everybody else is doing their projects, why shouldn't they? And it keeps their guys busy too.
Right. The biggest concern I have is if something happens, if there's a utility, break, and we have our people out there, And you know, who knows what our entire healthcare system is going to look like if we're not going to have emergency care, you know, for the next month. But you know, then again, everyone else is moving forward. You know, the businesses are already closed. I mean, there's definitely two sides of this that I don't really know the best answer, but I have my concerns.
I say let them go, but that's me.
I would go back to the contractors and just deliver the news that the city's prepared to move forward. If they have a hesitation about it, so, I mean, there's not one of us on this or anybody in their office. And like Eric said, know what this is going to look like in another 3 weeks. But nonetheless, I mean, if they get the same direction that we get. If other communities are moving forward, if NDOT's moving forward, or the state's out there doing work on the roads, then they must feel that we can go ahead and proceed with things.
Yeah. I mean, the last thing I want to do is put anybody at risk. That's just not my heart. But
Well,
at the
none of
same
us
time, I'm afraid that if we delay a long time, these contractors are going to get busy and we may, miss the boat on it altogether.
Yeah.
I told them we'd try to give them an answer by Friday as to what we're going to do. And there's some
Yeah,
more.
we'll wait till Friday. We'll take every day. I mean, is another day that gets us closer to a better answer.
Right. There are some decisions that need to be decided from council. I think we've talked about, and I've kind of put some numbers before. I just don't know if we really, you know, how much, if we really did say for sure that we want to go forward with all these or not. As far as the crosswalks and the decorative signposts.
I think that we talked about this and wanting to make it like Second Street and
Okay.
one shot deal. I mean, I'm all for making it happen. I don't know how Terry feels and John and them guys, but
Well, we did discuss. The only thing with making it like Second Street was kind of. Because I said my understanding was the only thing that would be different than Second Street was the fact that the crosswalks are going to be a little simpler design.
they're going to be the same, I think.
No, we can't do this.
Well, except for the corners and stuff like that because of the way the drainage is. Okay, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that we had the bids where we were a little bit over on the pavers and we came in a little under on the electric and the lights. Am I correct on that?
Yeah. The big thing is the lights and the electricians taking care of the thing that customer comes the crosswalk, which you can see about 50,000 over what we budgeted. Decorative signposts in our budget, 26,000. I've floated Benny and
Well, I'm in favor of getting her done.
it sounds like we can make it happen if we want.
Well, I don't want to come back a couple years later and have to tear out new construction to add to it or anything else. I mean, if we were in a position to pay for it, then knock this out. You know, I am going to say, as we go forward with some of this stuff and the closer we get to Market Street, especially, we might want to get a little tightened up on how hungry we are with some of these community crossing projects.
Terry, we're not going to have a choice.
Well, exactly. I'm just saying.
Paving money is going to be zero the last part of this year. We will get nothing.
Well, there's a lot of dark buildings. That's for sure.
I mean, John isn't down there at Rising Sun right now.
Nobody else a slot machine in the building, in the city building. We'll get
those slot machines aren't making any noise, and that's bad news for all of our special projects.
Yep.
I still say go ahead with the project though and get it done. And if you don't do it, it'll never get done. That's my feeling on it.
Want to go ahead and go for it? So I can let Ray.
Well, are you, I mean, aside from getting the digging started, are you asking for a commitment on the whole thing tonight?
They're asking me. I mean, if we to negotiate something, I mean, by all means, I can try. I don't know what that would be. Maybe one crosswalk or two or do them all.
That'd be good. That would be great.
I don't know. But we are looking at about like I have down here, about a $55,000 deficit of what we have in the budget for this.
Well, Benny, you're still on here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Well, I mean, if this is be a case where we end up falling back on savings again, I mean, we've already sequestered I'm just really worried, not just so much to the end of this year, but what this shit looks like going forward.
We can do this year, but when we start to make the budget for next year, we're going to have nothing to do. We're just going to have to be operating as usual.
In order to complete a project of this scope with the grant money we've already committed to, I'm all right with that. But I'm going to expect everybody else to remember that too.
That's all I'm asking is in 2-3 months when we're all dancing in the street and it's all wonderful and I'm building the budget and I say, no, we're not doing special projects next year, that I don't get a bunch of dirty looks.
Yeah, well, I'm good with that because I think this is very important to the city in general. Just, we've done so much on Second Street and everybody loves it. I haven't heard any negative comments in a while about Aurora, where I used to hear it all the time, excuse me, but being a shithole or something like that. But we have put a lot of money in the town. I think it's imperative that we do Third Street the same as Second Street and just be done with it and show everybody what we've, accomplished.
I'm good with that as long as everybody keeps long memories that may not be able to go chasing after as much of this grant money for projects that we're not going to be able to afford to do until we see what this new landscape looks like.
There you go. Good discussion, guys.
So can I just get a motion to go forward with all the crosswalks and decorative signposts and the alternative bid?
I'd so move.
Okay, Terry moves.
There you got both of them.
John, are you?
So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. What's John saying?
I can give you a but carry in the background when they're talking together. I can't make it out so well. What they want to do with the crosswalks, when we go like we already talked about, they go ahead and do the crosswalks.
Yeah, we're starting to get more concrete numbers here. Nearly $55,000 over budget after the signpost, and we're we have money to pay for it, but it's we're not going to be able to do this again next year. Everyone seems to be in agreement that
can't hear you.
With this,
What's the target? What's the target date for them to start it?
Well, I had to give them an answer.
We can be holding off on this until June or July.
Actually, I mean, we'll see where we're at Friday. I think the city's kind of leaning to letting them go if they want.
Eric, you still there?
Yeah, can you hear me, Pat?
Yeah,
No.
I guess. We want to get it done. Virus and everything. I don't know if they're going to have people out there working yet.
Yeah, we have concerns. We're weighing the options, I guess. And,
I can't hear it.
It sounds like John's a yes.
Okay, so that's all we can do.
What about as far as the going forward with the crosswalks and the signposts? You're back, correct? John,
I didn't hear that. Say that again.
are you still in agreement to go forward with all the crosswalks and the signposts?
Absolutely.
Okay, but you are in support of maybe.
Yeah, he wants to do it.
We
Yeah. So we're good. Derek, you good? Sounds like we had a unanimous.
Okay, good. All those in favor?
I
Yeah, I got 3 yeses.
called it once.
So if that's the case, then you want to go ahead with Pat up on Pleasant View?
I think so. If he's willing to go with it and you feel like it's a controlled risk on your part, then I'd say let's get her done.
Okay. We'll see what we can do, because like say, right now we're alternating weeks and splitting the crew, and like say we're using Clint Seekman to fix leaks right now, because like say tomorrow I'll probably have to have my regular guys that are here this week go out and read meters instead of doing any kind of that work. So it may come down to it that we'll just have to go back and call everybody in to, keep up with things. So if we do, we do.
Randy, could you wait until like Thursday so we can sit and talk about it and figure out what we want to tell them all on Friday? Randy? Randy?
Derek, your audio is cutting out.
Can you not hear me?
No.
I didn't catch what he said.
Well, you got the blender going, Pat?
That's not me.
That's,
Sounds like a lawnmower.
next door's getting bigger and busier, so we need to go ahead and wrap this up.
Yeah. Derek, why don't you continue this conversation, excuse me, with Randy over the telephone tomorrow?
Yeah, we'll do.
And
Okay.
see where we're at, make sure we're all still on the same page.
We'll
So
do.
as far as
Sounds good.
I think we accomplished what we needed to and then some. So without objection, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion adjourned.
All right, motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? All right, we are adjourned, gentlemen. Thank you. Hopefully we can work some of the bugs out.